2 weeks before my ordination, I started to have second thoughts. I was no longer confident that I was holy enough to be a deacon. So I sat down with Father Jim Dillenberg and Deacon Paul Grimm, who's the diaconate director in the diocese, and I had a very candid conversation. And I said, I don't fit the mold. This whole deacon thing, I don't know if it's me. I'm not a holy enough guy. I'm a bit messed up. I'm more of a sinner than a saint. I'm neither Bible quoting nor rosary toting. I'm just a regular guy trudging through life, trying to figure it all out. In many ways, I'm an irreverent ragamuffin with far more questions than answers. Hardly deacon material. And when they finished laughing at me, they asked me if I was describing myself or St. Peter. And then they got serious, and they looked at me and reminded me that the gospel message was never intended for people who have it all figured out. It was intended for people like us, people who are searching and scrambling and making our way through life the best we can, trying to make sense of it all. The thing I like most about this passage from Mark's gospel is we get a clear understanding of exactly who Jesus came for and who stirred his heart. It was just the regular folk out in the countryside, the people who lived out in the villages and the burgs, scattered in the wilderness, who were just doing their best to live life and try to find their way and figure it out. People like us. Jesus' deepest compassion was not stirred by the uber-religious, the super self-proclaimed righteous who stood on the temple steps, the Pharisees and the priests who stood on the temple square all neat and tidy and clean and told everyone else how to live. These weren't the people that stirred his compassion. That crowd was more likely to stir his frustration and his impatience. And indeed, that was the crowd who both literally and figuratively, as they stood in judgment over everyone else, ultimately would prove to be the death of him and stand in judgment over him too. No, the people who truly stirred the heart of Jesus were people like us. The regular, the ordinary people who just went about life, walking their journeys, doing their best to sort of find their way and figure it all out. And isn't that great news? Isn't that good news? What we have here is a portrait of a Christ, our Christ, who loves us and has his heart stirred for us, not because we're perfect and have it all figured out, but because we're not. A Christ who is stirred by our questions and our searching and our seeking. And that's the most important thing, isn't it? Because when we stop seeking, when we think we have the answers, we stop asking the questions. When we think we have somehow found the truth, like the Pharisees and the priests in the temple square, judging everyone else, when we think that we have found the truth, we stop searching and we stop seeking, and we have a portrait of Jesus in this gospel who, even though he is tired and he is weary and would like nothing more than to just kick back with his apostles, has his heart stirred by people who, like us, are out there just searching and seeking and doing the best they can with what they got. And that is good news. That's outstanding news for all of us. It takes the burden off. This is a Christ who's not asking us to have the answers, who's not asking us to be perfect, but rather is willing to embrace us where we are, as we are, who has his heart stirred simply because we're asking the questions and we're searching in the wilderness. His heart stirred for us, simple pilgrims, making our way through life, trying to make sense of it all. And that makes us sacred people.